Okay, so I showed you the source of this pollution. The other thing which was really cruel, I didn't realize till I spent there. So you ask, what is wood doing here? See, India, tropics in general, has a long dry season starting from October until April, middle of May, right? And then comes the monsoon, rains from June to September, transforms this semi-arid region into a lush tropical forest. But the problem with the rains, who wants to guess that? The wood is wet, you can't burn. So they have to collect the wood. You know how much they consume? About 10 kilograms from a family of 6. For 4 months, you do the arithmetic, it's about 2 tons they have to store. Just imagine storing wood. You need to protect it. It's a huge thing for the women. So they not only have to collect food for the cooking then, but they have to collect food for the next 4 months. So imagine this cook stoves, if they can cut down the wood consumption by a factor of 2. I did not even fathom they improve in the quality of life they have. Okay? And now I'm coming to the sustainability issue. Look at this region. This is off of Mumbai, 3 hours from Mumbai. What do you see peculiar here? This is in the heart of the so-called Western Ghats. Chain of mountains start from the southern tip of India, goes up to Mumbai. Okay? It's dry. Partly dry season, but there are no trees. Why is that? Cooking. Okay? And the sad thing here, I have another picture, the so-called climate change, and there is a called REDD, R-E-D-D, in which, about 16 to 18% of the CO2 is coming from deforestation. So the government has put deforestation laws. So as a result, the woman can't access the firewood next to her home. She has to travel 1.5 miles. So I talked to the government official. I said, for climate change, it doesn't matter one bit whether she clears the forest next to her home or 2 miles away. At least let her reduce the workload. But anyway, what's happened here, what's the problem in removing trees? I didn't realize this region is going through drought with major suicides by farmers. The roots hold the water. So by clearing the roots, they're not recharging the groundwater. So every year they're digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And how do you dig deeper? They have diesel, so more fossil fuel. So it's a vicious cycle. And so it's a huge water problem. I want to take you to travel with me, follow two groups of villagers, okay? The other thing is, these are the things I didn't understand what was going on. See, this is cow dung piled up. Why? Again, for the winter monsoon. But they have to fertilize the soil. Before, this was in my grandfather's time, we used to use the cow dung for fertilizers. But now they're using it for cooking. So they have another source of agriculture they've lost. Okay? So when you add up all together, let me show you 2 examples of water. So this was a cottage I was living, and from my cottage I looked out, and the women were gathered to collect water. These were the lucky ones. They were within 1/3 of a mile, the village. Okay, there's still enough water, but they all had to come to a community place. Let's go and see this unlucky village, which was about half an hour from the village I was staying. This is the second village I stayed. So I asked this was my guide. It was his sister who was cooking for us for me and my wife. So I asked her, hey, I want to know where you collect water from. That was a mistake I did. He took me on a 1-hour walk, okay? So these are the women going down, right? I'll show you an oddity here, okay? So they go down, another half an hour walk going down. The reason they're going down is the water level has gone down. Say they have no pump to dig deep, so they have to walk down with the water. And I'll take you to the next one. And this is when, after seeing this, I started imagining all kinds of diseases I had acquired because I was eating in this woman's house. She was the village teacher, okay? I had a long conversation with her. I said, don't you have children? She said, why do you ask? I said, why aren't they helping you? And she said, oh, I have 3 boys. And I asked her, what are they doing? I'll show you a video of what they were doing when their mother was collecting the water. They were playing cricket. So I asked that guy standing there, okay? I said, how come you're not helping your mom? And he gave a remarkable answer about sustainability, what's happening in India now. He said, only idiots would stay in the village. I'm playing cricket, getting education. I'm going to leave, go to the city. Okay? So there's a mass migration. But it's really a self-inflicted wound on the part of the government. Talking about that, by the way, is the house of one rich person. 35 stories. Okay? And I learned that Mumbai has a population of 28 million. About 11 are not even registered. At least half of them are villagers who come and become slum dwellers. Okay? So that's the sad part of the story. I think those of you who know me know, I never tell a bad story unless there is a good ending to it. Right? So this is what is happening now, slowly because of education and others. So that's the village I stayed in. Unfortunately, it's a blurred picture. That's where the town meets, and that's a solar light. Okay? Solar is becoming extremely, not because it's cheaper, because that's the only way. The electricity just doesn't come there. The electricity is there, comes 4 hours a day, but they don't tell them which 4 hours. Just imagine. So they can't plan anything. Okay? I fortunately had bought some solar lamps, solar chargers from REI that took care of me for 2 months. And the other thing is, I'm working with a local solar energy company, and I want to show you what a dramatic effect it did. So that's one of the villages. So that's the solar lamp I took. It was about $10. I tried to light it in my home. It was pathetic. But when I take it here, it's going to make huge difference. And I left about 10 of them recording data from the villagers, how many times they use it, what they charge. So that, we hear in the West, solar won't work because it's expensive. But little do we think there's no other option there. Okay? And so that's $8 transformed this guy's life. And the other thing is that this is a village school. Well, unfortunately, I'm not, okay? So we bought this computer for the school because they had no access to anything, any information. But turned out there's no way to run the computer. There's no energy. So I had to buy a solar power to do that. So things get quickly complicated. The last thing I want to end and go back to our main story, things which is really making a transformation. This is a group I'm working with, the Energy Resource Institute. In the Surya village, we are starting this microgrid. Okay? I couldn't believe it was self-sustaining, because we got one entrepreneur to buy this thing on government loan, and then he sells the power using a microgrid, and this guy made his money in about 2.5 years. The reason is, see, this is world-famous village where I am. They make the best saris. You've seen this Indian silk saris. It's one of the famous places, and their industry had almost shut down because no power. This microgrid turned them back on, so they pay for the power. Okay. So solar is really have a potential to do transformational stuff. So the key thing is, I think we take efforts to cut down the short-lived climate pollutants and tie them to markets. Okay? There is a way to sustain this village life. And again, why are they all migrating to cities? It turns out, if they have, they're all small holders, almost 90%. Their holding is about 5 acres. So if they have one crop a year, that just provides food for them. They need the second crop to earn their living. And the second crop is stopped by the droughts, by pollution. Okay? And so how do you do that? Of course, if you cut less forests, you recharge your water, so on and so forth. Okay? We are starting that. So let me just take you to, again, this is the farmers market I stopped. I feel the farmers market idea was invented in India, because this guy says it's been there for about 700 years, right? Just in this area. Unfortunately, when I visited them, I didn't have any money, so I couldn't buy anything. I was just looking at all the beautiful food they were selling. And again, you see no trees. See, how do you retain water on the slopes? By trees. So there's a project this group is starting with check dams and this and that. So finally, on to the good story. This is the village we are working in. Okay? Of course, this looks like a commercial. I'm showing a happy family. But it so happened, the reason I'm showing this is, we have chosen in each village women like this to form self-help groups, because they don't give loans, individual employees. So she has collected about 10 women. She's kind of a village leader there, and she bought one of her stalls and talked about this. She's changing the social norm that you don't have to cook with it. The food taste is the same, right? And so let me just take back and summarize what I said. So that's the village trip. I'm going to have to take you back to my scientific PowerPoints to conclude this. So where are we in this project Suya? Okay, what I finished telling you the story is this. This is a big deal. Okay, it's not by itself going to solve the problem, but an important cog in the wheel of sustainability. Okay. So what we showed, that the reduction of the monsoon by the brown clouds, cutting off sunlight by the brown clouds, has reduced wet season harvest in India. Okay, so this is the classic problem economists were trying to address. You can see the wet season harvest. This is just rain-fed crops. It was done by a colleague, Jeff Vincent and Afhammer. They were both at UCSD at that time. So India's green revolution picked up 1970 and went rapidly and sort of leveled off. And we find the brown cloud increased in thickness starting from 1990s. Okay? This is only part of the story. Like I said, Jen Burney has looked at all the crops, wheat, maize, and looked at the direct effect of the pollutants, particularly ozone, and find India's wheat yield should have been at least 30% larger. Just imagine if your yield increased per hectare, you have to clear less forests, so you emit less CO2, right? You consume less energy, and you can just see just one thing. It's like a system. improving one just reverberates to the whole system.